Hello, wherever you are in the world. We are officially live in an unscheduled special event where Jen
Hello.
and I will be going live and interviewing the great Doug Wing.
Oh my God, it's going to be amazing. If you're joining us and you already know who Doug Wing is, put in a 1. If you don't, you're about to be mind blown.
Yeah, all three of you. Now, more will join, but I think it's important right now, for the sake of the video at least, to introduce Doug informally by saying that he is the son of the late great Hal Wing. Hal Wing invented and founded the Little Giant Ladder Company, where Doug Wing worked for about 4 decades and made millions of dollars worth of sales during that period of time, literally millions. And we're going to discover today the secrets, the deep, hidden secrets of how Doug Wing failed to manipulate anybody and still made tens of millions of dollars worth of sales. Please help me welcome the great Doug Wing.
Wait a minute.
Hey.
What you're saying is that you don't have to manipulate to be great at sales?
Correct.
Ha! I love it. Doug, welcome to the show.
Hey,
Now,
how are you?
I will admit that when I sold in New York City, I may have added a little manipulation to what I said and did. I may have. But Doug grew up in a different environment. What did your dad teach you about when you started selling? He goes, son, I want you to do this. What did he tell you?
Well, I would say hello, Jeffrey and Jen, again today, but good to see you. But I would say 2 things. I would say the first one that he used to say to all the salespeople, and he taught me this lesson as well, is he said, you can tell the customer anything you want to, as long as it's the truth. So the first one was, we are going to sell and always be ethical and honest and never stretch the truth. So that was number 1.
That's kind of odd, isn't it, in today's world?
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, it's competitive, and there's a lot of, bashing and trashing the other person, your competitors and things like that. And that's one thing that my dad did teach me is, people would kind of get upset when we had knockoffs and people would badmouth us. And he would just say, hey, you know what? We've got the quality product. We have the name. We're going to do business the ethical way, and it will always come back to us in spades. And it did.
The only people that had to exaggerate were your competitors.
Exactly. Yeah. Correct.
So you were telling me a story at dinner once about how Little Giant took off, and can you give us like a quick little history of what was that defining moment that just...
I will. But the other thing I was going to mention was the other thing that my dad taught me was, he would say when we were in meetings with distributors or vendors or anyone, he would say, if it's not a good deal for everyone around the table in this room, then it's not a good deal. And he would even say to them, if I get the lion's share, it's not a good deal. And so he was concerned that, everyone that was there working with him got an equal portion of the business and made good money. And so he was very fair. I mean, more than fair. But yeah, those were the 2 things that I think I really took into sales were, be honest, and then, make sure that everybody gets a good deal and is, gets their fair share. So
how
you want
did
me
you close sale? That's not closing the sale. That's opening the sale. Correct?
Yeah. Correct.
So
yeah.
Did you have a closing special way?
No, I, honestly, I developed relationships with people, and then they ended up buying product from me. And what I did, Jeffrey, was I would develop a friendship with people. I'd get to know them and find out about them and the things that they liked, where they grew up. And then I would, take an interest in what they did. and then I would, listen to their needs. And I think listening is very, very important in sales. And then I would, help them solve the problem they were having. And if I didn't have the product or service that they needed, I would find, even if it was a competitor or another company, I would help them find the answer to their issue they were having.
That's rare. That's really rare. No one does that in business these days.
Well, yeah, I agree with that. It's funny. You call a hotel and they say, sorry, we're full. And I said, what does that mean? I don't need a room?
Mm-hmm.
No, I need a room. So why don't you say we're full, but here's 5 places, or let me make a phone call for you.
Yeah,
and
that's good.
That's what Doug did.
Well, I know, as a guy who's traveled 2 million miles, maybe you've probably got 3 million, Jeffrey, flying, but I've been to hotels before, and I've had very rarely, but there's been a few people that I've gone in and they're full, and they've actually picked up the phone and said, hey, let me call these 2 hotels down the street, and they actually got a room for me. So that's pretty rare, but that's great service, right?
Yeah. And then you remember those hotels forever.
Exactly.
You're staying in 1,000 hotels. You remember too.
Yeah, for sure. But Jan, going back to your question, I guess we need to
let's get some background, because not everyone knows you.
Yeah, so 1972, my dad, we were all living in Germany. My dad was selling life insurance for a company called Beneficial Life in Salt Lake City, Utah. And since my dad spoke German, they decided to open an office. And since he was a veteran from the Army, they said, okay, let's open up an office in Germany. You know how to get on base, you know how to speak German. And why don't you go, we want you to go there and do this. So my dad moves his whole family. Now, keep in mind, my mom and dad had, at the time, they had 7 kids. And my dad was 27 years old, and was doing very well selling life insurance. He was a good salesman. And then a business partner of his saw the original Little Giant ladder, which was invented by a guy named Walter Kummelin. And he saw this ladder, and the guy was a house painter and designed this original design. And he said, Hal, you've got to see this ladder. And my dad said, Richard, you're crazy. We're here selling insurance. I don't want to know about a ladder. But this partner, his Richard, wouldn't give up. He just kept bugging my dad, bothering him about it. And so eventually my dad saw the ladder, met the owner, and said, wow, this is incredible. And he thought I could sell these things. And so that's kind of how things got started. We went back to Utah, and my dad quit his job and ordered a container full of ladders, went around and met all of these friends. I think it was probably 40 or 50 ladders, probably met friends and family and pre-sold them all. And then when the ladders came in, everybody had an excuse and said, oh, this came up or that came up. And so he had all these ladders and he couldn't sell them. So anyway, because he'd pre-sold these. And so what happened was he decided, well, this product has to be shown. And so he went to started going to Home and Garden and shows and selling these things toe to toe. Now, keep in mind, this is in the 70s when the economy was starting to tank. Interest rates were very high. And here my dad was trying to sell these ladders that he had brought in from Germany.
And there was no internet.
Yeah, there was no internet. There was nothing. He had a printed little flyer he made, at some copy place. And he sold these literally door to door, toe to toe. And he would tell us, hey, if I don't come home today and sell 5 ladders, we're busted, we're broke. He would literally stay out till sometimes 10, 11 o'clock at night and sell the ladders that he needed to stay back in business,
Wow.
Yep. I wonder how many of the people that are listening right now, whether you're an insider or a diehard or just a 959er, I wonder if you're willing to stay out till 10 o'clock at night to make your sales quota. I always hearken the mantra of Steve Prefontaine, the runner, who said, somebody may beat me, but they're going to have to bleed to do it. Mm-hmm. And I wonder if you're willing to go out and bleed to get a sale, or you just want to go home, drink a beer, and watch Netflix.
Yeah, exactly. And people don't realize that my dad was traveling around over 300 days a year in an old Gran Torino station wagon, a woody wagon type of thing. Anyway, and he would sleep. He would have ladders in there, foam pads. He would sleep on his ladders, and because he could only afford to stay in a hotel about every 3 to 4 nights, so he would sleep in a car, and eat out of an ice box, and use the bathroom and in gas stations. And in the morning he would get up and shave in like a gas station restroom and brush his teeth. And I'm sure by the time it was that he could go to another hotel, I'm sure he smelled pretty ripe, because he and everything. But I mean, how many of us today would sleep in our car and go out on the road over 300 days a year and do this? Nobody.
Yeah, that is not just dedication, but it is drive to succeed. And I guess when you have 7 kids at home, that's part of the drive. But the other part is the desire to succeed because you believe in something that is going to be, quote, the best. And I think your job as salesperson was facilitated, not made easy, but facilitated by the fact that you had the best product in the market and still do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and quality was big. I mean, at the beginning of Little Giant, the 2 Warner brothers from the biggest ladder company in the world came up to my dad and laughed right in his face at a show. And they said, "Wing, you're an idiot. You are a complete idiot. You will never take this anywhere, and you are going to fall flat on your face." And my dad that day said, "Those guys really motivated me." He said, in fact, they ticked me off. He said, "I was ticked." And he says, "I was going to prove those guys wrong." And the irony of that is those 2 guys tried to buy our company probably 3 or 4 times, and my dad would never sell it to them.
Oh man,
that's a classic.
Your dad definitely had the last laugh on that one,
and the balls to be able to pull it off.
Yeah, but my dad has this story about just his drive and his never give up attitude. He said one day he was out and he had to sell 1 more ladder, and he's like, "Man, I couldn't find anybody. I was asking people for referrals. I'm going to people's houses, their businesses." And he says, "I get referred to a 1-armed man." Now, if you've ever seen the Little Giant ladder, it's got all these buttons and you got to push and pull things. And he says, this guy starts listening to me and he's got 1 arm. And my dad's like, "How am I going to show this guy that this ladder is for him?" And the guy says, "If you can convince me, Mr. Wing, that I can operate this ladder with 1 arm, I will buy it." And so my dad tells this funny story where he's down. He goes, "We're both down on the ground," because my dad put 1 hand behind his back and he's trying to show the guy how to do it. And he says, "We are literally wrestling with this ladder, using our chins, our feet, 1 arm, our shoulders." And he says, "Somehow, some way, I convinced the guy." And he goes, "I made the sale and so I could go home that night." And I'm like, man, I don't know if I could have convinced a 1-armed guy to buy a Little Giant ladder.
Oh man!
Should have tried to sell him wallpaper. In the meantime, there's an amazing business history, but behind the Little Giant Ladder Company. It privately owned. I'm sure you had all kinds of offers from all kinds of people, but there was a turning point in the Little Giant Ladder that defied everybody at that moment in time. When Hal Wing decided that it was TV time and not just hardware store time or, going through distributors. Talk about that a little bit.
Well, the story that people don't realize is that the company had hit an all-time low. I mean, the patents were running out, and sales had dropped down to a very, very crazy low level. And I will say this, that there were a lot of people panicking at Little Giant, and there was one guy that never panicked or never showed fear, and that was Hal Wing. So someone came up with the idea. They said, "Hey, maybe we should go on an infomercial. We know that this works, going toe-to-toe. When we do the presentation and show people, they buy." And so here's the only problem, is that we didn't have the money at that time to do an infomercial, and they were about $1 million. And so here's my dad again, being the gambler that he was. He said, "All right, I'll make you guys a deal. I'll mortgage my farm. I'll give you the $1 million, but I want that money."
Hal Wing, the farm He
bought the farm. He bet the farm. But what happened was he said, I want that money back in, I think he said 3 to 6, I think 3 months. He said, I want my money back in 3 months. And I want, I don't want to be paid, but I do want, I think it was $20 for every ladder we sell on the infomercial. So,
whoa.
So what happened was, they filmed the infomercial. And of course, Hal was the star of the infomercial because he had passion for the product. We did have some other
$1 million riding on it. Come on.
Exactly, yeah, exactly. So anyway, the infomercial practically overnight was a huge success. And what another amazing story was, we went from producing about 400 ladders a day to 7,000 in one day. So we had to go quickly from 1 shift to 3 shifts, 24 hours a day, 6 days a week. And
wow.
They did. Yeah. The amazing thing was there was so much cash that we were able to do all of this debt free. We didn't have to finance any of this stuff. And it just went crazy. And it was absolutely successful. The good news is my dad got his money back and then some.
Yeah.
So.
I love that.
So
sorry.
We have a book that's going to be coming out. I want to tease the people that are on this thing right now. We're doing the story of Hal Wing, but we're also talking about his success principles and his ideas for how he made sales. Telling the truth is part of the equation, but certainly not the only one. And when Doug is finished with this project, it's going to be major. I mean, this is going to be a book that will last literally a lifetime, because the Lowe's and the Home Depots of the world and the Ace Hardwares and the True Value Hardwares trying to sell ladders and hammers and nails and barbecues, and they don't do a very good job of it. There's no passion to it. It's on aisle 6. No, I don't want to go to aisle 6. I want somebody to say, follow me. That's what I want somebody to say. And, that's part of Hal Wing.
Doug, I want to know on a personal note, because you worked with your dad for decades, right? But when did you realize, was there a moment, like when did you realize what an amazing business person he was?
Well, that came with time. I did notice very early on that whatever my father chose to do, he did 110%, and he had a drive and a determination and a self-belief that I've never seen in anyone ever since. The kind of passion and the work ethic and the drive he had, and he showed no fear. He believed in himself, absolute belief in himself, and he always came through. And so that confidence really helped me. Not an arrogance. There was no arrogance with Hal Wing. He really loved people, and he was genuine with people. But he had this drive and confidence that always carried him through. And I mean, with banks, the bankers trusted him. Customers trusted him. Vendors trusted him. And there's just so many stories of him and his integrity. And I mean, there was a story. He lost the company once, and he walked into a bank and said, I need $1 million. I have no money. I've always paid you back. Will you give me the money? And on a handshake, the banker stood up and said, Hal, we believe in you. You've always kept your word. And, shakes his hand and says, we'll give you the money. Now try to go to a bank today and do that. There's no way. They'd laugh.
Right.
You want your grandmother to put up her secure safety deposit box key.
Yeah. And I asked him about that. I said, wasn't it hard to do it again? And he looked at me and he goes, no, it wasn't. It was easier because I remembered the mistakes I made the first time, and I eliminated those the second time, and it came so much quicker. I mean, the guy was just unbelievable.
Oh my God.
We're going to go to dougwing.com. What's the
where can they get information? Dougwing.com.
Yeah, so the book is going to be called Giant Success, and it's going to talk about the core principles and values of Hal Wing, and that can be found, the information to that can be found on dougwing.com. And really the thing that really made Hal Wing special, I think, above all else, was the way he treated his employees. And that's going to be a big part of this book. Is he was Jeffrey, you and I have talked about this, about that we're both givers. And, I learned to be a giver from my father, who was the ultimate giver. And he loved his employees. He gave back to them. He built people. And, when he passed away, the governor of Utah spoke and said, Hal Wing always told people he was in the ladder business, but that's not true. Hal Wing was in the people business. And so, that's, one thing about my dad was he built people, and those people helped him build ladders. And he was very successful because he built people and helped people grow, as individuals.
So you guys, this is part one of this podcast. Part two is
we need a part two.
Oh yeah. When the book comes out, we're going to have part two, and we're going to talk about how you can get involved and get the course. But in the meantime, Jay's going to run, and I'm going to answer questions from the gathered so that we can have a little bit deeper of a conversation with Wing based on your comments and your ownership of a little giant ladder, which many people have already claimed. Hey, I have one. Hey, I have one. I have 6. And most people have more than one. And I just got...
We only have 6?
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure we have more than that.
I just got the latest one. It's this light. It's I don't know how would you refer to it as.
That one's called that's the flipping light.
The flipping light, right? They call it the flipping light because in Utah they don't swear. In New York, it's a different flip.
Yeah, it starts with an F in New York, but it ends with a different.
But many people are here today, and they want to at least say, "Man, we got a lot of comments." Hey, Jeff and Jen, great. Okay, I think StreamYard is just tough. Number 1, Little Giant Ladder Company, of course. Doug Wing, number 1. Jimmy O'Neill. Jimmy O'Neill's from Philly, by the way. But everybody is like, "Whoa, Doug! Oh, hey, Walls is here."
Oh, there's Ken. Yeah,
he gets notified. I put Doug Wing in there. There we go. Okay. And honesty, how about that? Well, okay, cool. Optimist Tim in Dallas, Fort Worth. Hey, Doug Wing and the Gitomers. Oh, Tony Thorpe, Canada's here. Isn't it cool, people?
I know some of these people.
Yeah, exactly.
Not as many as you know.
Brisbane, Australia is not bad, is it?
Oh, yeah, that's awesome.
All over the planet coming in. And Joe Williams, Hal Wing didn't keep score. He just did what was right. Mm-hmm. Whoa. Isn't that cool?
Yeah, Joe's a good man. Yeah, he's on your show quite a bit.
I think we're going to save this. I think it's important that we all have this particular one. I'm going to send it to me and you, okay?
Yeah, one of the things that made my dad special too is that he was a very forgiving guy. He had some people that took advantage of him in business, and he forgave a lot of people that weren't nice to him. And he was competitive, but he also had a really good heart too, as well.
Important.
Yeah.
Totally important. Look at this one. Sounds a lot like Sam Walton. Except.
What a compliment.
Yeah, exactly. Cool, William. How's it going? William, I was just thinking about you this morning. I had pancakes with your syrup that you sent.
Hi,
everyone. Yep. Well, there you go. The story is great. The Hal Wing story is just phenomenal. It's full of humanity.
Yeah, in fact, one thing that I really appreciate about you, Jeffrey, is as I got to talk to you about a lot of these stories, you just flat out told me one day, you said this story has to be told. These things have to be taught to other people. And so I do appreciate you, you know, helping me through this project and you know, giving me, you know, because I've never done anything like this before, but you know, as I go through and interview people and learn more about my amazing dad, I'm like, people need to know about this because he's just unbelievable.
Absolutely. This guy's from Vicenza in Italy, where I did a seminar.
Oh, cool.
Did Doug Wing ever speak to Walmart for shareholders? No, but he will be. Yeah. I miss and love the handshake too. It'll come back. One handshake, and the banker knew Hal's name and believed in him.
Yeah.
Really cool. You can take your mask off. It's over. DougWing.com. I'm just saying. Hi, Jen. Bye, Jen. The great Richard Greaves is here.
Yeah, Jen gets a lot of shout outs.
The flipping light. The full eyes is getting heavy for me. Rich, this is as light as a feather. Well,
yeah, and they're strong too.
As a feather pillow. I've climbed it. It's exactly right. If you have an 8 or 9 foot ceiling, works perfect. Cincinnati, about time they checked in. They're doing it over there. Had dinner in that 10 years ago. Wow. Oh my God. Isn't that cool? Isn't it cool how people comment?
Do you remember a lot of this?
Pardon?
Do you remember a lot of these people that say they had dinner with you 10 years ago?
Some yes, some no. But grateful for all. Wow, I adore a little giant ladder from Doug Wing. That's cool. Which I won on the Grow Live Academy. Oh, cool.
The previous question, Jeffrey, was when is the book going to be out? And that is going to be available in March of next year. So we're working closely on the timelines that we have, but it's going to be great. So that's one of my friends right there, Jeffrey. That Mayday. Yeah, she's in California.
Cool. What a great name. She
Well,
said sometimes the cops come.
Yeah.
Hey, everybody. Steve in the UK. But I'll tell you, the Hal Wing story is not only inspirational. Every time Doug and I talk, something new pops up. And we've talked about this, and I'm not kidding, 100 times. And so I try my best to capture as much as I possibly can during that period of time. There's a whole other element to this that cannot be denied. And for now, I think it's time to say goodbye, Doug. And we will see you in the very near future.
Yes.
I wish you all health. I wish you all well, and buy a little giant ladder so you stay steady when you climb the ladder. It is about quality, it is about safety, and it has nothing to do with price. What's a broken leg worth? Answer, at least 2 little giant ladders. Cheers.
Thank you,
Dougie.
Jeff.